the union of Princess Radiyah and Prince Atif was more than mere chance. Their union was specifically guided, selected, and arranged by the 24 wise elder scientists of the inner earth who were also genetic engineers. They knew that the offspring of the union between Princess Radiyah and Prince Atif would be the personification of order to balance out and offset the chaos of Yaqub, who was the offspring of Yishaq and Princess Lusana. Yashmal began his education on the day he was born, as is the custom amongst members of the Shayuk. It would be unheard of for a member of the Shayuk to wait until the age of 4 to start school unless the child was mentally handicapped. Being part Shayuk and part Sinin, Yashmal's head was noticeably larger than the other members of the Shayuk and Sinin. Yashmal had an enormous head, 2 brains, and a third enlarged pineal gland which sat in the center of his 2 brains, making the top of his head appearing to be shaped like 3 orbs. Amongst the Shayuk and Sinin, Yashmal would be called the big head scientist. However, amongst these tribes, this statement was not taken to be an insult, but rather a compliment, alluding to the individual's intelligence in the same way that saying big muscles alludes to an individual's strength. Since Yashmal was raised in his native land amongst his people who looked like him, he did not suffer from the same ridicule, mockery, and low self-esteem which plagued his cousin Yaqub, who grew up in a foreign land amongst other than self and kind. As a child, Yashmal was an exceptional prodigy and a genius. Yashmal was also told stories of the evil activities which transpired at the hands of his cousin Yaqub. One day, when Yashmal was 9 years old, he was playing with 2 electromagnets in the home of his grandfather King Fukur, and noticed that electrons flowing in the same direction through 2 electromagnets would create the magnetic phenomenon of attraction, and that electrons flowing in opposite directions through 2 electromagnets would create the magnetic phenomenon of repulsion. By observing this, Yashmal realized that like flowing energies create attraction and unlike flowing energies create repulsion. Thus, Yashmal was inspired with a determined idea to direct the flow of mental energy of the Ebenoid people of the planet in the same direction so that the Ebenoid people of the planet will be unified again to be strong and righteous, and bring peace and balance back to the earth forever. Upon coming to this realization, Yashmal looked up at his grandfather King Fukur and said, "Grandfather, when I get older, I am going to make a people strong and righteous, and I will eliminate the devilishment which has come into the world to show and prove real power and wisdom, and bring back peace and supreme balancement forever." Grandfather King Fukur said, "What will you make? Someone to establish order and cause harmony in the world." Yashmal said, "Man plans, and I plan, and surely I am the better planner." And it was at that moment, the boy Yashmal first came into the knowledge of just who he was, born to establish order, bring peace, build, create, and be the redeemer to the Ebenoid peoples of earth. It is common for members of the Shayuk tribe to finish all of the coursework taught in all of the colleges and universities of the surface world by age 9, but Yashmal finished by age 7. If it took a member of the Shayuk tribe until age 18 to finish all of the coursework taught in all of the colleges and universities of the surface world, then that person would surely be looked at as being mentally handicapped or mentally retarded. Yashmal finished all of the advanced universal sciences which are taught by the schools in the inner earth by the time he was age 12, even though it is common to finish this coursework by age 15, but Yashmal was a genius and a prodigy. After finishing school, Yashmal met with the 24 wise elder scientists of the inner earth and told them of his intention to travel to the surface world as a bringer of peace and redeemer of the Ebenoid people. Yashmal was tried and tested by the 24 wise elder scientists of the inner earth, and once found worthy, at age 18, Yashmal traveled to the area presently known as the Mwanza region near the countries of Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya in Africa. Yashmal called his new doctrine Technology, and his holy book was called the Book of Technology of 720 Degrees, which was in a question and answer format designed to get the mental energies of the listeners flowing in the same direction, which would in turn create unity, harmony, and attraction amongst kindred. Yashmal's new doctrine was so powerful that he had millions of people from all of the tribes on the earth coming to hear his message and aspiring to be a part of his mission. However, from the millions of followers that he gained on the surface of the earth, Yashmal only selected 144,000, which he called the chosen few, to be a part of the next phase of his plan, and when Yashmal and his chosen few departed, he told the people on the surface of the earth he would be back in one day. So Yashmal selected 41,150 Ebenoid females and 41,140 Ebenoid males for a total of 82,290 people from the original Ebenoid tribe. Yashmal selected 10,285 Rubedoid females and 10,285 Rubedoid males for a total of 20,570 people from the Rubedoid tribe. Yashmal selected 10,285 citrinoid females and 10,285 citrinoid males for a total of 20,570 people from the citrinoid tribe. And Yashmal selected 10,285 albinoid females and 10,285 albinoid males for a total of 20,570 people from the albinoid tribe, which made 144,000 people total. Yashmal took his followers into the inner earth through an opening beneath the Great Lake in the present-day area known as the Mwanza region in Africa to begin his eugenics genetic engineering experiment of grafting the various tribes of people on the earth back into the original Ebenoid tribe. Yashmal, being a master genetic engineer who was all-wise, right, and exact, knew that it was not necessary to kill anyone in order to accomplish his goal because he had knowledge of the science of dominant and recessive genes. Knowing that the Ebenoid tribe was the first, then Yashmal knew the Ebenoid gene would be the most dominant, followed by the Rubenoid gene, followed by the Citrinoid gene, and lastly followed by the Albinoid gene. While inside the inner earth with his followers, Yashmal applied the science of dominant and recessive genes to design and engineer a system of arranged marriages by which the offspring born from each arranged marriage would have certain desirable qualities, and in time over a period of 900 years, all of the derivative tribes would have been grafted back into the original Ebenoid tribe. Yashmal also observed that the gene of the Ebenoid woman was the most dominant gene, and so Yashmal established the following rules of arranged marriages amongst his followers. 10,285 Ebenoid women and 10,285 Ebenoid men would marry to keep the Ebenoid gene strong and pure. 10,285 Ebenoid women would marry 10,285 Rubenoid men. 10,285 Ebenoid women would marry 10,285 Citrinoid men. 10,285 Ebenoid women would marry 10,285 albinoid men. 10,285 Ebenoid men would marry 10,285 Rubenoid women. 10,285 Ebenoid men would marry 10,285 Citrinoid women. 10,285 Ebenoid men would marry 10,285 albinoid women. Yashmal would also keep 10 Ebenoid women as wives for himself. The men and women were required to get married by age 19, and each couple were to have 2 children. Living in the inner earth where he was from, Yashmal was continuously regenerated and rejuvenated and did not die like his cousin Yaqub on the surface of the earth. Yashmal was able to teach, socialize, laugh, play with the children, enjoy life, and observe the generations and progression of his followers over the centuries. The offspring of the Ebenoid woman and the Ebenoid man would always be Ebenoid. The offspring of the Ebenoid woman and the Rubenoid man would also be Ebenoid because of the strength of the Ebenoid woman's genes. The offspring of the Ebenoid woman and the Citrinoid man would be Ebenoid 75% of the time, and Rubenoid 25% of the time, because of the strength of the Ebenoid woman's genes. The offspring of the Ebenoid woman and the Albinoid man would be Ebenoid 75% of the time, and Citrinoid 25% of the time, because of the strength of the Ebenoid woman's genes. The offspring of the Ebenoid man and the Rubenoid woman would be Ebenoid 75% of the time, and Rubenoid 25% of the time. The offspring of the Ebenoid man and the Citrinoid woman would be Rubenoid. The offspring of the Ebenoid man and the Albinoid woman would be Citrinoid. With the laws of arranged marriages in place, it would take Yashmal's chosen 144,000 people 46 generations over the course of 900 years to be grafted back into the original Ebenoid tribe. During this time, for some generations recessive genes would tumble forward. After 12 generations, all of the albinoids had been grafted back into the Citrinoid, Rubenoid, and Ebenoid tribes. After another 16 generations, all of the Citrinoids had been grafted back into the Rubenoids and Ebenoids. After another 18 generations, all of the Rubenoids had been grafted back into the Ebenoids, leaving only the original Ebenoid tribe. It was also observed that after 4 generations, if the albinoids refused to mix in, then they would be unable to conceive offspring after the 4th generation. After 8 generations, if the Citrinoids refused to mix in, then they would be unable to conceive offspring after the 8th generation. After 16 generations, if the Rubenoids refused to mix in, then they would be unable to conceive offspring after the 16th generation. Just like electrons flowing from atoms with more electrons to atoms with fewer electrons, it was necessary for the derivative tribes to mix back into the original Ebenoid tribe in order to get recharged and sustain and maintain their existence. However, because of the science of recessive and dominant genes, by mixing back into the original Ebenoid tribe, the derivative tribes would eventually be grafted back into the original Ebenoid tribe in time, leaving only the original Ebenoid tribe on the surface of the planet. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. And so Yashmal smiled at this fact, now having knowledge that the evil acts done by his cousin Yaqub would be reversed just by letting nature take its course. The process of grafting the derivative tribes back into the original Evanoid tribe took 900 years, and once completed, Yashmal took another 100 years to teach and train his followers how to control and conquer the evil which existed within themselves, rather than attempting to graft the evil out, letting it manifest and personify as a being. After the 1,000-year period with Yashmal in the inner earth, Yashmal returned to the surface of the earth to the area presently known as the Mwanza region in Africa with 144,000 Evanoid people. When Yashmal and his 144,000 followers returned, the people on the surface of the earth said, "Yashmal, you said you would be gone for one day, and you were true to your word. You have only been gone for one day, but many of the people you have returned with are not the same people you left with. What have you done with our brothers and sisters?" One of the Evanoid women named Kidara, who was one of Yashmal's wives and one of the 144,000, spoke up and said, "I am the daughter and great descendant of your brothers and sisters, which it seems to you left with Yashmal just yesterday, but we have been with Yashmal in the inner earth for 1,000 years, and Yashmal has taught us the science of genetics and how to rid the world of evil, as well as how to conquer the evil within ourselves." Yashmal spoke and said, "Indeed, one day in the inner earth can be like 1,000 years. Yashmal's 144,000 followers then proceeded to teach the Evanoid people on the surface of the earth the way to defeat the evil currently plaguing the earth in the same way that Yashmal had taught them. Yashmal returned to the inner earth with his Evanoid wife Kidara. After returning to the inner earth, Yashmal was elected to a seat as one of the 24 wise elder scientists of the inner earth. Yashmal taught Kidara the secret to eternal life, and they had many children together. Yashmal told Kidara that the Evanoid woman is the human representative of nature on the surface of the earth, and thus the Evanoid woman is the key to destroying the evil plaguing the surface of the earth, and she is the key to bringing peace and balance back to the surface of the earth. Yashmal told Kidara that it was not him who the 24 wise elder scientists of the inner earth had prophesied about, it was her, the Evanoid woman. Yashmal told Kidara that he was merely a conduit to allow her to bring balance back to the earth. And so while the big head scientist Yashmal's followers execute his plan on the surface of the earth, Yashmal and Kidara wait with their family in the inner earth for the hereafter, that is to say, here on earth, after evil has been removed, and peace and balance has been restored.
According to what Master Farad Muhammad taught me on the race question, the origin of the races, in the beginning of the races, they numbered around 4. And from these 4 races of people, they has produced many different types of people, but they are not, say, independent in their beginning. They came from one. We say today we have lots of various colored people on the earth, from, we say, from brown to white. We are not all the same color due to intermixing with such colors as black, brown, yellow, and red and white. This has produced many other various colors. And the origin of it, according to the teachings of Master Farad